Rhea has just located the missing church files. They're at a storage facility. As she's sitting in her car trying to decide how she's going to get them, she notices a man in black running inside with a gasoline can. Can she get to the case files before they're destroyed? I'm Billy Jackson. After 26 years of law enforcement, this is Jackson's Case Files, where experience meets fiction. Rhea taps the phone for 911. She identifies herself and asks for police and the fire department. She gets out of her car and runs toward the storage facility. Meanwhile, inside the facility, the man in black, who has a mask on, has already rolled open the door to the case files. He's about to grab the gas can when he hears a voice. Hey man, what you doing? Startled, he turns around real quick and he notices a homeless man. It's Bubba. He reaches to the small of his back and looks around to make sure it's just him and the homeless man. And he says, you know what, you picked a bad time to be here. Bubba backs up a little bit as he's about to pull a weapon. Then he hears Rhea's voice coming from a corner hallway, yelling, get down on your knees, you're under arrest. And then he hears sirens coming closer to the scene. He looks at Bubba and he says, you got lucky this time. And he takes off running and disappears down a hallway. As he disappears, Rhea appears from around the corner. She sees Bubba and she asks, are you all right? Bubba said, yeah, that was close. She turns around and she looks at the case files and she says, quick, we need to find Reverend Purdy's case files, the ones that are to his church, before the police get here. The police finally arrive. Rhea and Bubba are going through the case files and she's taking pictures of each case file. Bubba asks, why are you taking pictures? We're going to get a chance to look at these later. Rhea says, I got a bad feeling about this, so I need to take the pictures so my investigation doesn't stop. If you can, that little cell phone I gave you, take some pictures of the files that you have over there. Bubba takes pictures, and then he notices that one of the files has a USB drive in it. He was about to tell her about the drive, but she was a little bit far away from him. There were other people in the room. He didn't want to make a big deal about it, so he took the USB and put it in his pocket. As they were looking through the files, a voice came from behind them loud and said, everybody, stop what you're doing. It was Lieutenant Sarah Williams. Lieutenant walked over. Sarah said, officers, as of right now, Rhea Voss has nothing to do with this case. Rhea asked, is there any reason why you're throwing me off? Because I've been authorized to be here. Sarah says, what are you doing here? You didn't tell me about this place. You haven't been telling me what you've been doing. I've been in the dark on everything. Rhea says, I just found out about this. It was a hunch. If I found something, I was going to give you a call. Sarah says, you've done enough. I'm taking over this scene. Sarah looks around and grabs the nearest officer. She says, I'd like for you to escort this young lady out, and I'd like for you to escort her friend over there out also. As they walk to the car, Bubba asks, what was that about? Rhea says, I'll tell you later. Let's go back to my office. As Rhea and Bubba walk toward the car, Sarah pulls out her cell phone. She walks away from the other officers so that she can have a little privacy. She makes a phone call. She says, I thought you were going to take care of this. The voice on the other end said, I tried, but there was this guy there and I couldn't finish the job. Sarah says, I'm paying you to do one thing and you're not doing it. Sarah turns around and says, let's go to plan B and please don't mess this up. The voice says, I got it. It'll be taken care of. And she hangs up the phone. Across town in their office, Rhea and Bubba are in Rhea's home. Rhea takes her phone, hooks it up to her laptop, and she transfers the pictures from her phone to her laptop and from her laptop to her printing machine so that they can look at the files on her desk. She gives Bubba some instructions on what to look for. Pastor Purdy took a lot of notes. Most of his notes were about people that were seeking help from domestic violence situations. She started looking at police reports and comparing them to some of the notes that Pastor Purdy had. Now, Pastor Purdy was very careful. He didn't name any victims as not to allow anyone to know who was coming to the church for help. But Rhea also made a phone call to a friend of hers that worked for the phone company. And what she did was she downloaded the calls that were made to Pastor Purdy at his church. She came down to a time where Pastor Purdy had taken his last phone call. He didn't make it, but someone had called him. As she was sitting there looking at her notes, she said to Bubba, "It would sure be good if we had some video." Bubba lost track of thought, said, "Oh, wow, I do have one more thing for you." He reaches in his pocket and he pulls out that USB drive. He said, "This may be something." Takes the drive, plugs it in, and it turns out to be video surveillance. As she looks at it, she checks the time on the surveillance and she checks the dates and times on the reports in Pastor Purdy's notes. And she winds it down to a time where Purdy took his last phone call. As she and Bubba were sitting watching the video, she said, "This is the time frame of where Pastor Purdy took his last phone call." They were actually looking at the front of the church. Not much traffic going on. But then she saw a man, the man in black, coming out of some bushes close to the church on a cell phone. As he was talking, she noticed that he was getting upset. And then finally the door to the church opened up. The man in black immediately put his cell phone in his pocket, ran to the church door, and met Pastor Purdy at the door. She saw him grab Pastor Purdy and push him inside the church. They kept looking at the video surveillance. Bubba said, "This doesn't look good. Do you think this is when he died?" Rhea says, "I'm not sure." And then a sedan pulled up. The sedan looked like it was police issued. Out of the sedan comes Detective Patrick Boone. He's on his cell phone and he's walking around his vehicle to go into the front door of the church. The church door opens and the man in black steps out. It looks like the two of them are arguing when a van pulls up. The van pulls up, two men get out of the van, walk inside. Detective Boone and the man in black are still talking and arguing. The two men bring out a rug. The rug basically looks like there's a body in it. The two men take the rug, put it in the back of the van, close the doors. The two men get into the van and they drive off. Boone is so upset that he waves his arms in the air, gets in the car, and he takes off. The man in black lights a cigarette, walks across the street, and disappears in the park. Bubba said, "I think we just witnessed the murder of Pastor Purdy." Rhea says to herself, "I need to talk to Boone. He's not telling me everything." So she gets on the phone and she makes a phone call. She says, "I need you to set up the interview room and I need to talk to Boone one more time." Then she says, "Excuse me? What do you mean? Well, where is he?" Then she says, "I need you to take him to a real hospital, not the prison infirmary. He needs to be in a real hospital and I need you to put guards on him. I'll meet you all at the hospital. It's going to be hard for you to get some information from him now." Rhea says, "I've got to try. He's got the answers I need, and I need to know who the man in black is." Will Rhea be able to talk to Boone and find out the answers that she needs? And will we finally find out who this man in black is? And my last question, what's going on with Lieutenant Sarah Williams? Whose side is she on? Is she just upset because Rhea is doing a better job than she's doing? Or is she covering up something? Join us for our next episode. This is Jackson's Case Files, where experience meets fiction.